Yes, folks, hello, welcome once again to Mod Extra Games and Collectibles. I'm Chris, this is my channel, and it's an absolute pleasure to have you with me here today. And I want to talk today about the fact that we are in May. We're just a mere handful of weeks away from June. And you know what that means? That means Yojo June is just around the corner. And I am very, very excited to see what Hasbro have got lined up for us in the world of G.I. Joe this year. But you know what? At the minute, there's stuff in the air, there's tidbits of info, there's leaks, there's reveals, there's chatter and speculations going on all over the place. So I've poured over hours of videos, I've listened to hours of podcasts, I've visited numerous websites to try and gather in as much information as I can to lay down some predictions and speculation as to what we might be seeing in June. So let's get into it. Let's have a chat, shall we, about what might be happening at Yojo June this year. Okay, folks, before we get into a meat of it, there's a few other content creators that I want to give a shout out to. These have been a large proportion of the contributions to the info that I have gathered up to make this video. So a big thank you very much to Chris, otherwise known as Diagnostic 80 over at the Full Force podcast. A massive thank you to the artist Shark, to the folks over at the Hiss Tank who keep the news pages rolling, and a Toy Kind of Mood and their wonderful interview that they've had recently with the G.I. Joe design team over at Hasbro. Those have all been massive contributors to the information that I'm using today, and I would recommend you all go and check them out. Okay then, folks, so getting into the meat of it then, I figured the best place to start would be the stuff that we know for sure. You know, use the facts as we know them to launch into the predictions and speculation. And the team over at Hasbro have given us quite a list of name-only pipeline reveals over, whatever, months and months and months. So at the top of streams, during interviews that they've been in, panels, convention panels, they've delivered some names. These are coming, we're working on them, they're on the way. And then Chris over at Full Force Podcast has got this great list. I'll give you a little peek at it in a minute. That breaks down what's due in 2024 and what's due in 2025. I believe based on information he's getting from his strong relationship with the team over at Hasbro. So we know for fact that 2024 name-only reveals are Alpine, the Iron Grenadier, Raptor, Starduster, the Nemesis Immortal. Always have to say that one carefully because, as I'm sure many of you do, the urge to say Enforcer is overwhelming. Road Pig, the Retro Cobra Commander, the Once a Man Cobra Commander, the Falcon 2-pack that they recently discussed in an interview on the Full Force podcast, and then the 60th anniversary Marine figure and the 60th anniversary Pilot figure. That's not the extent of the name-only pipeline list, so some of you might be sitting there thinking, well, I'm sure I heard this and I'm sure I heard that. And yes, you'll have been right. There's also Xandar, Leatherneck, Dial Tone, the Saw Viper, the Frag Viper, and Blowtorch on the name-only pipeline character reveal list. But Chris has broken those down from the retail listings and using his relationship with Hasbro to make some assumptions to place those guys in 2025. Whether that means we'll end up seeing some digital render reveals at PulseCon at the back end of the year with a view for them to ship in 2025, I'm not too sure. We've definitely seen that historically last year into this year. But there'll be some names there that you'll have seen and go, I'm sure I heard this in the past, and they are still on the list, but they're in the 2025 pipeline. There have also been some leaks that have taken place and some Easter eggs that have not been officially confirmed. So to my knowledge, in my research for this video, I couldn't find an official announcement of these anywhere, but they've been leaked or they've been kind of casually mentioned in error so that we know that they're on the list. So we've seen the Mad Marauders photos from out the back door of the factory, which was the Mad Marauders Sergeant Slaughter set, and the Mad Marauders 2-pack with Lowlight and Spirit Iron Knife in it. Heart Wrencher. I think Heart Wrencher may be an official pipeline reveal, but we're going back through some lists and stuff. I couldn't find when this was actually announced. So I've put her on the leaks list because I think it may have been announced properly, counter to my previous comments, but I couldn't find it. Then the Iron Grenadier Bat, and then the little Easter egg of the Snake Eyes version 4 that Lenny had kind of on screen. It's speculated that this is a little nudge, nudge, wink, wink from Lenny in the Toy Kind of Mood interview that took place recently. So there are a number of kind of leaks and Easter eggs knocking around out there that we can safely assume are in the mix for consideration when it comes to Yojo June this year. So I mentioned I'd show you Diagnostic AT's little retail listing breakdown. So what Chris over there does is he gets all the retail codes with the code words and the, I don't know what these are, ISBN numbers or something, and then starts to figure out who's who and what's what. These are particularly useful, and the stuff Chris does with this is great because it shows you when it's a deluxe, when it's a 2-pack, when it's a vehicle. It highlights when it's mainline or if it's Pulse exclusive or Walmart exclusive, etc., etc. So that's really nice. And as you can see here, this is Chris's list itself that he uses in his own stream. So again, big shout out to Chris over at Full Force Podcast, an invaluable source of information that I've used to research this video. You can see that he has broken down and made sense of what a number of these listings are. So that's everything we know. If we compare all that previous information with Chris's invaluable work, Chris over at the Full Forces Podcast's invaluable sleuthing around the retail listings, we can see that there is a standard retail figure unaccounted for right now. There's what I've called an other figure unaccounted for right now, one deluxe figure, a 2-pack that we've been told is a troop builder, 2 retro figures that we don't know anything about, and a vehicle that we don't know anything about. So, there's gaps to be filled. But what we do also know at this moment in time is how they approached it last year. And we can operate on some sort of hopes, dreams, and desires that they follow a similar pattern to the way they rolled out Yojo June in 2023. Although there is some other stuff we know that I'll talk about later on that may suggest that's not the case. But there were 13 figures revealed over the whole month of June through several streams. So they gave us a handful of reveals each week on a number of live streams that went out over YouTube and over Instagram over that 4-week period. So even if they don't roll it out in that staged approach, we may well see a similar amount of figures being revealed. So the unaccounted for retail listings are kind of over and above the number that would kind of give us a nice match there. But that's not to say that is the case. That is, just to reiterate, this is predictions and speculation today. Let me show you what I mean. So here are my speculative conclusions. The standard retail wave that's on the retail listings, I think we're likely to see. That is currently known to be Alpine, the Iron Grenadier bat, and an unknown other figure, which may be filled by something else in the pipeline list, or could be a pleasant surprise we've got coming our way. We then have a retro wave, and I think that would be, high on the list as for potential inclusion. We know about Retro Cobra Commander. That would be a great one to have coming down the pipeline. I think enough time's passed since the Hiss Tank, and then 2 unknown retro others. The 2 60th anniversary figures, the Marine and the Pilot, which I think will come in Yojo June because, we're going to run out of time in the 60th anniversary year if they don't get around to that sharpish. The fact that the Mad Marauder leaks look like pretty done, dusted, finished, ready product, packaging in the box reveals. So the Sergeant Slaughter and the 2-pack with Spirit and Lowlight in it. So I reckon there's a good chance, a high possibility of seeing those in the Yojo June reveals. And then to bring the numbers up to that similar sort of figure that I mentioned from last year, some other stuff like Nemesis Immortal, which I think because of the leaks of the head sculpts that we've seen of late that Laser Pants over at the 3POA podcast put out there. And, perhaps a vehicle to be consistent with the Trouble Bubble, something in that kind of ballpark size, and then maybe the Unknown Troop Builder 2-pack. So that's my kind of speculative list, but there are some more other stuff items in there. Road Pig is still on the name-only reveals and unallocated. Heart Wrencher, the Once-a-Man Cobra Commander, the Falcon 2-pack, the Snake Eyes V4. If that's for realsies, then, that could be a nice little surprise listing revealed to us in Yojo June. And the fact that Emily in the Full Force podcast interview recently referenced another Cobra Commander, although whether that's Once a Man just being re-referenced or whether that's a different one altogether is kind of up for debate. And then there's also been some suggestion out there from an unknown source about the Desert Scorpion being a head sculpt of that knocking around. So there's still some of these on this list that could fill those gaps in the previous list, in the unknown spaces, the unknown space in the standard retail. Road Pig, it could be a deluxe instead of Nemesis Immortal, or an additional deluxe because there's a pet known to be with that. I don't think the Falcon 2-pack and the Troop Builder 2-pack are one and the same. These are known to be separate retail listings. The word is on the Falcon 2-pack. In the interview, they said it was going to be Falcon and another character. And then Chris over at Full Force Podcast revealed that he knew it to be a bad guy, a villain, a 2-pack with a hero and a villain. And I've speculated recently on one of my own live streams that this could be maybe Headman. Because of the Falcon appearance in the DIC series, and he was in the Headman drugs storyline there. We know, though, that none of those slots are going to be filled by Raptor and Starduster, because it's been announced that Raptor is the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive figure in July, and Starduster is being held back for PulseCon in probably September. On the vehicle front, there is quite a bit of speculation out and about, but what I couldn't do is I couldn't seem to find in my research where the sources of the speculation is coming from. So I think some of this is some small part of, hopes, dreams, wish lists from around and about, with maybe some, intimation and some hinting that's taken place, maybe at a convention or something, because I can't find the original source for these. But there has been some speculation out there that the Snowcat is on the list to be a vehicle. The Thunder Machine is on the list to be a vehicle. They could potentially be in the kind of Vamp size and scale. I don't know. I seem to think they're a bit too big, but I'm not sure. And I've also seen out and about some folks revisiting the fact that the Triple T appeared as an Easter egg on the packaging artwork of General Hawk's figure, and whether maybe that's the vehicle to turn up. I'm not so sure about the Triple T. I don't know. The reason for my doubt, my decision not to predict that one necessarily, although still give it a little nod, is because historically, when it came with a figure, it came with Sergeant Slaughter. They've already got Sergeant Slaughter, a Mad Marauder subline version that's got a probability of turning up in Yojo June this year, so I don't think they would do another set with another Sergeant Slaughter, although historically the Triple T has been an independent release without a character in the past, so the Night Raider version and I think a later release came out with no character included. So could this be the first vehicle we get that has no accompanying character? I don't know. I'm not so sure about that because, again, referencing back to a recent interview with the team, this is the Full Force podcast interview. I think they mentioned this in. They said that one of them, the kind of ethos around their design principles is that when they do vehicles, when they do things, they want people to be able to open the package and be able to play straight away. And producing a vehicle without a character means that you've got that situation where the vehicle is driverless at any point if someone's buying it for the very first time. So, yeah, I don't know. Triple T, it has been an Easter egg in the packaging, but I don't know. But if there's anyone you could suggest as a potential Triple T driver outside of Sergeant Slaughter, then I'm open to suggestions. Let me know in the comments down below. Now, of course, there's a lot of people expecting and predicting some Haslab updates and the possibility of announcing a new upcoming Haslab. The Dragonfly is obviously in need of some info coming our way. We've not seen even a digital render of Crazy Legs at this point, but of course, in-hand demonstrations of Glenda and Doobry, what's it, other guy. Jesus, parachute dude. God almighty, I need to stop recording these so late or make better notes. What's his name? Ripcord. It's bloody Ripcord. Oh, my days. Sorry, folks. Maybe I should re-record that. Nah, whatever, leave it in its authenticity, isn't it? So we've not seen, so in-hand Ripcord, in-hand Glender, and even just a digital render of Crazy Legs is due at this point. So folks are expecting some update or a little bit of something of that flavour in the mix. In terms of a new Haslab, the leading speculation is a Cobra Rattler. Again, though, I've tried to do some research and get back to what the original source of that was, or see if there's anything kind of more official in nature, but it does appear to be, and by all means, once again, head into the comments down below and correct me if I'm wrong, but it appears to be sort of speculative assessment on the grounds that if G.I. Joe are getting something that flies, that it's time Cobra got something that flies. But that would be awesome, because I know there's a lot of folks out there would really love a wild weasel figure. However, in whatever way that shakes down, a Dragonfly update would be the very least we could expect in the Yojo June event. Whether there's a new Haslab announced, time will tell. One other thing that occurred to me, and again, sort of basing it on the historical Yojo June events over the last couple of years and some of the things they've rolled in, I would expect some kind of Skybound comics related coverage going on. We've got the new Scarlet series and the new Destro series due to begin in June. Both their first issues come out during June. Obviously, we've got the Real American Hero continuation by Larry Hama taking place as well. So we might perhaps see an appearance by Larry Hama, Joshua Williamson, maybe Kelly Thompson or Dan Waters here, perhaps Robert Kirkman himself, to do a little bit of chatter about the Energon universe stuff, maybe talk about some stuff that's happening with the characters, maybe spoil or tease some events in those two comic series, or give us some indications as to some future intentions with G.I. Joe characters within the Energon universe. But I'd be very surprised if they didn't do a bit of comic book coverage. You know, Larry Hammer's been on previous Yojo June stream events before, and so yeah, I think it's a pretty safe bet we'll see some Skybound comic stuff as well. And of course, let's not forget that while we're in this sort of area outside of the main chunky G.I. Joe classified series space, there is the Renegade Studios gaming stuff. We might see an update around the deck building game or the miniatures game or the role-playing game included, with a bit of coverage as to some future releases. There's quite a handful, quite a big chunk of Renegade Studios related gaming releases on the horizon, all due to imminently drop, I think July, August time. So I'd be very surprised if, you know, the deck building game Dice Tower and some of the expansions there's some role-playing game expansions, those types of things. Super 7 may have something going on. I don't know. I know Sweet FA about Super 7. But, you know, they do give time and attention to the collaborative areas of their experience. We may even see some McFarlane and the Page Puncher stuff rear its head, if only for a brief moment. And of course, there's been speculation around comments made that the O-ring line, the 3.75 O-ring line, may make a return in 2024 as well. And whether that's another kind of Transformers figure vehicle combo or something, I don't know, but I would be surprised if it's not at least referenced in some way, even if it's just to say no, not yet, folks. Or one would hope. You know, this is speculation, predictions, and hopes and dreams and desires as much as it is anything else. So the next question is really, when is it happening? Have we got any indication as to what it might look and feel like in terms of dates and times and so on and so forth? We don't at this stage. There's been nothing announced formally. Again, to my knowledge, it could have been announced right now while I've been recording this tonight, for all I know. But what we do have is over on Entertainment Earth, in their Drop Zone section, which is like their little kind of teaser space for upcoming releases, there's reference to a Hasbro figure that we'll shout yo for. Well, I say a Hasbro figure, it implies more than one figure, because it says, and we'll shout yo when they go live, so you can get yours, on Tuesday the 4th of June. And that's the only listing, the only Hasbro listing that could be kind of directly correlated to G.I. Joe. So that means that the likelihood is at this stage is that we're going to get a stream. A Tuesday night stream for G.I. Joe is consistent with past streams. A Tuesday night stream on G.I. Joe that's going to be at the top of the month, that's going to cover off this stuff, which is a shame, I think. I would have liked to have seen a repeat of the multi-stream kind of a bit a week over the month that they did last year. I felt like there was a lot of momentum and energy, a great community buzz and feel. You know, I was jumping into the Discord and hanging out with my Joe Bros over there, and stuff was going on Facebook and Instagram, and there was just a real vibe about it. A little bit of an event, something to do every week to touch in on. Sometimes they did it by surprise as well. So it was like, hey, we're live on Instagram and here's some Dragonfly stuff. And, you know, that was all very exciting, had a lot of energy, a lot of dynamic about it. So if it is just a one-shot stream on Tuesday the 4th, then I'll be a little bit disappointed, but not that disappointed, because it'll be great to see some new G.I. Joe stuff for sure. But I liked that whole month event type thing. This feels like they might just pop a load and then just leave us to it for the rest of the month, which will be a wee bit of a shame. But who knows? Again, time will tell. I'm just making a prediction here and speculating based on what I know, what we've seen. There could well be more beyond this. Like I say, they weren't averse to dropping a few surprises in last year at all. All right then, ladies and gents, well, that brings me to the end of my predictions and speculation. Obviously, there's space for further speculation. You know, that list that I put up earlier has got a load of unknown figures on it and some gaps to fill. I'm going to do a second supplementary video on that subject, so keep an eye out for that coming down the pipeline. It's a bit more of a kind of wish list, if I'm being honest, things I'd like to see, things I want. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. We've got 2 retro figures that are potentially coming up in Yojo June. There's a probability of that being the case. They tend to be repeats of characters we've seen already, so who do you think they might be? Who's your preferred deluxe figure? What vehicle would you like to see, or are you on board with the Thunder Machine or the Snowcat, something like that, or the Triple T? Just anything, just let me know your thoughts or your speculations, your ideas to fill in some of the gaps as we go along. And, you know, let's see what happens in the next 2 weeks, whether there's more stuff comes out, more leaks out the back door of the factories and those types of things to give us even more direction and idea as to what we might be seeing. But for now, I'll thank you for watching. It's been a pleasure to have you. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time around these parts for more Mod Extra Games and Collectibles content. All right, see you later, folks.